Welcome to Car Free Conversations. This is a podcast where we talk about making the most of St. Pete without the need of a car. I'm Domenico.
And I'm Sumitra.
And with us today is Toby.
Hello.
Hi, Toby.
Hello.
Toby is a Car Free St. Pete committee member, and so today we're going to talk about Toby and his priorities on the committee. But first, as an icebreaker, we're going to talk about bicycle helmets and how to properly wear and fit a bicycle helmet. Toby, do you want to talk a little bit about why that's important and how most people might get it wrong, and then maybe walk us through how to properly put on a helmet?
Okay, so wearing a helmet, of course, is really important, especially here in Florida, since some of our roads are the most deadliest in the nation. St. Petersburg and the Tampa Bay area especially. But what I can do is show you, I brought my helmet with me, how to properly fit a helmet so that you are safe on the roads here.
All right. We'll have to be as descriptive as possible for those listening on the radio.
So I
as well.
have with me my helmet, and it has a MIPS system, which is an adjustable band in the back, and it has a twistable knob that loosens and tightens. Most helmets have these. The ones that FDOT provides through their helmet giveaway program also have the adjustable knob in the back, as most helmets, modern helmets do. But essentially what you want to do is you want to have your helmet loosened to the largest size possible, put it on your head, and you want to have the front of the helmet, the brim, just about 2 finger widths above your eyebrows, like this, and then go ahead and tighten the back.
Okay, so that's a good approach. So I am one of the people that clearly does not put their helmet on properly. Like that, what you said was you loosen it all the way before putting it on. So you're not trying to adjust it before you put it on. You want to make it so that it's loose all the way, that after you put it on, then you adjust it.
So it should be pretty firm. You should be able to wiggle your helmet and it stay in place with the same distance above the eyebrows. The thing to pay attention to are the buckles beneath the ears. You want to be able to adjust the straps so that the buckle ends up being just below your earlobe, tucked in nicely like that, on both sides. And then when you tighten or fasten the buckle under the chin, you should be able to finish or fit 2 fingers just underneath without
So you're fitting 2 fingers between the strap and your basically under your chin. Okay, and that's as tight as you want
2 fingers in there between your chin and the chin.
Any tighter would be
too tight. You should still have a full mobility all the way around. It's just that you don't want it too loose, because in case you have a front collision, the helmet on your forehead should stay in place and not slide back above your head, because you really want to protect that part of your head in an incident.
Yeah, obviously, that's a good point. Thank you. When you get into a collision is when you have to worry about what your helmet's going to do. I feel like I am usually just trying to make the helmet just feel comfortable. Whereas what you said is probably what I should be doing, which is making sure that if I were to hit something, my helmet would stay on my head. So 2 fingers under the chin strap.
One of the things I notice, especially with little kids, like under 10 maybe, is that they have their helmets too loose or too far up to where it shows like this. And if they did fall, like their forehead is completely exposed or whatever, and it's not being protected by the foam of the helmet.
So it's 2 finger widths above the eyebrows is how far the helmet should be from your eyebrow. That's a good gauge. I think that's a very easy way of...
Those 3.
And this works for, I know there's different types of helmets. Like recently somebody handed me a helmet that had like a little bill in the front. It looked like a baseball cap. But the thing would apply, right?
Yeah, my helmet has a little bill.
Oh, yeah.
Like a visor, and it still works.
Well, good. Yeah, helmets are important. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, and I'm going to mention it again because it was such a shocking video. There's like a video online where somebody tumbles off their bicycle into the street, and a bus. I know, right? It's like it makes you like uncomfortable just thinking about it. But their head lands on the sidewalk. I'm sorry, on the street. and the rear tire of the bus goes over their head. But they like, the person backs out and the helmet is stuck under the wheel, but their head is like totally, they just like walk away. And so like after that video, I was like, oh wow, helmets are really cool.
Yeah.
Like that's wild. So yes, where you're
Yeah, every time even though I know that story, every time you narrate it, I'm always like uncomfortable because it is so insane.
Yeah.
And so just to recap about the fitting of the helmet, if you have the little adjustable band in the back, you have to adjust it all the way to where it's loose before you put it on your head. And then when you put it on your head, make sure that you have two fingers above your eyebrows. Once you are done with that, you go to the adjustable strap, and the adjuster should be right below your ear. And once you buckle it, you need to have, again, like two fingers between your chin and the strap.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Toby. I know we have this slated for the end, but I kind of want to bring it up now. There is a bike sale that the St. Pete Bike Co-op is having. Can you tell us a little bit about that so that all of our listeners know about it?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You're
there
a
is.
guest of honor. Yes. And I know you know all about the St. Pete Bike Co-op and this bike sale, so I want you to tell us a little bit about it. Did you get your bicycle from the St. Pete Bike Co-op? The St. Pete Bike Co-op, basically, in a way, they kind of recycle bicycles, right? They sort of bring the used bicycles, they make them available to consumers as like you can purchase them, right? That's basically what they do. And so through now until mid-September, they're running a sale of 25% off all bikes. But they are only open Mondays and Thursdays from 6 to 9 p.m. It is a great place to get a bicycle because the prices are a little bit more reasonable, I think, right? Because they're usually repurposed or recycled. So definitely check that out. And the St. Pete Bike Co-op is located. Is it historic
right
uptown?
By City Hall, just north of there, St. Pete, off of 2nd Avenue North and 5th Street by the shop.
Well, there you have it. Well, let's talk about you, Toby, now, if you don't mind. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey with Car Free St. Pete? What motivated you to join, and how do you participate in the committee?
Well, what motivated me to join was actually just rediscovering as an adult riding bikes as a means to get around. I used to do deliveries by car and 1,000 miles a day. A year when I was going through college, and I just noticed that it's a lot easier to navigate some of the streets than Peter's bike. And I figured a lot of things that I learned ways as far as on the roads, but then also on trails, definitely helped build my confidence as an adult bicycle rider.
And I know someone who has been a bike messenger. How has that lived experience informed your work as a bicycling advocate?
As far as advocacy goes, since the nature of my work really does connect areas of commerce to residential places mostly for deliveries, I find that it's actually pretty difficult to get around, at least a few years ago, and even in St. Pete as recently as that, to get to those places. So using a bike almost felt like you had to be an athlete of some sort with the purpose of some sort of exercise or trail that you're doing. But to use it as an average commuter or someone just running errands to get groceries done, post office, I found that routes to get to where you need to be are really difficult to come by. So being a bike messenger, I managed to find different routes. I think the city of St. Petersburg calls them greenways, slower roads that you can use that are bike friendly if trails or shares aren't available. And I just found a lot of joy in, exploring new neighborhoods and finding different ways that they can connect to some of the urban core commercial spaces.
I think that's like such an interesting point that you made, right? That a lot of people, I think what discourages them about getting on a bicycle is that they imagine themselves taking the same roads that they would if they were to drive to a destination. But what you just said is true, that when you're on a bicycle, you need to consider taking alternate routes that are first of all, really much more beautiful than just taking the fastest road. but also safer, more comfortable, and in some cases will get you there
I'm
faster.
not a fan of riding on the sidewalks, mainly because they're not the smoothest means to get around, and also you have to dodge traffic, coming in and out of different plazas. So yeah, riding as a driver using the main cores that get you there quickest with the highest speed limits is usually what most people do. But as far as cycling goes, finding the most direct route and then neighborhood greenways is probably the way I navigate on bike.
Yeah,
Are we
that
allowed?
that
Sorry, go ahead. I have a question.
that has also been my experience. Like I live about 15 minutes bike ride from my studio, and I have found alternate ways to get there than I would if I was driving there, just because uh, I get to see the neighborhoods in between, and I don't have to be on main roads. But it's also funny, like sometimes I still have to cross those main roads, and when I have to cross them, it is always I have to wait for the traffic to die down a little and then cross so that like I'm not like run over by like speeding cars constantly. Also like which shouldn't be the case, right? Like we shouldn't have to use our creative minds to figure out how to get to a place safely. If a road is designed for a car, it should also be designed keeping other ways of transit in mind and not just that's for
You brought up
another
two good
episode.
points about that. Noticing different things that you would on a bike that you wouldn't have noticed by car. And I do
Yeah.
notice when I've cycled around, especially the downtown core area and some of the neighborhoods to the west of downtown St. Pete, I've noticed a lot more restaurants and shops that I probably would not have ever seen just by driving by, because it's not something I'm able to pay attention to at 35, 45 miles an hour. So that's one of the benefits of cycling. The other benefit that I've noticed in recent years is that even though we do avoid some of the major cores, like say 4th Street, for example, the city of St. Petersburg has installed crossing pedestrian crossways, like flashing beacon lights, as an example, that really do help to a great extent some of the neighborhoods like in the South Side. And I think 18th Avenue South and 20th Avenue South, there's a couple of roads that you can use, beacons that you can use to cross that major road. So it does make it a little bit safer. And of course, all up 4th Street now.
So I have a question for both of you. Toby, you mentioned riding on a sidewalk. So I was under the impression that bicycles are not allowed to ride on sidewalks in the city. Do either of you know if that's like
I understand.
Like if it's illegal to ride on the sidewalk? Is it a courtesy? Like what is the,
As
what
of
are the rules of the road?
2013 or 2014, that's the last time I had a manual from, I think the St. Pete Police Department or the city of St. Pete published something like that. But you can find the codes online. You're not supposed to ride on a sidewalk. You're supposed to use your bicycle as a vehicle and use the streets according to those rules. But I mean, if you were going to, everyone has their preference of safety. Some people are just not going to do something even though the law says to do it because it's just not safe. It's best to go with the flow of traffic. So instead of going against traffic on the sidewalk, it's easiest, especially for cars that are coming out of plazas. They're able to see you because they're already looking to their left. And then also, if you are traveling with traffic, the people behind you will be able to see you cross an intersection much easier as far as time is given than if you were coming against it. So if you have to use the sidewalk, I would advocate to go with the flow of traffic.
So stay on the right side of the sidewalk on the right side of the road. Okay, so back to Car Free St. Pete. In your opinion, Toby, what are some of the key benefits of promoting car-free living in an urban area like St. Pete?
What are the key benefits? Well, I can think of one in economic sense, that you're no longer having to pay as much into gas or maintenance of your vehicle or car insurance. So by going car-free, or at least making it a major part of the way you move around in the downtown area or St. Pete in general, you do end up saving quite a bit financially with going car-free. The second thing, I guess, would be a health aspect. There are many physical benefits from walking or cycling that you can get just from even using e-bikes. There's been enough studies that show people who use e-bikes get way more physical activity or exercise than people who just wouldn't have gone run an errand using that mode of transport. So There's a health and economic aspect of that, and also I think it feels mentally better once you are physically active after a while. It just something about it just helps, either the blood flow or something, but it allows people to have a clearer mindset about things. So I think it's also healthy in that way, mentally.
I do agree with all of that. And how do these benefits that you just mentioned, they align with the goals of the committee, and just the broader community that we are trying to build?
Well, I think they fall in line with the committee's agenda because it also promotes a safety aspect. When there are other modes of transportation being considered, such as cycling paths, it does help other people, like people with mobility scooters, for example, that will use that as opposed to the sidewalk because it is much smoother for them too. It
Hmm.
it allows a more, I guess, equity. More people are allowed to get around to where they need to be that they might not have been able to do if they are in a car-centric environment. So it does serve more people.
Bicycles are certainly cheaper than cars these
And you can
days.
do a lot of the maintenance yourself on a bike. It's a lot more simpler than routine maintenance on a car.
Have either of you noticed? I don't know if these were like AI generated or these are actual things, but like Ford was coming out with like bikes, and same with Mercedes Benz, and I was like, what is happening? Also, like, what is happening?
I have not heard that. Are they like very branded? Do they
Yeah,
have a big logo on the back or something? I'm very
I
curious now.
mean, they have like a logo on the front stem. Uh,
I've
but yeah,
heard of
it's a
that. I wasn't sure if it
strange.
was part of their marketing thing, such as I remember Volvo came out with a mountain bike, I think, sponsored by Cannondale like 30 years ago. And I don't know if it was to promote like an
Uh-huh.
active lifestyle. So if you buy a Volvo, this is what so, it comes with a package. You
Uh,
look like this. But it's possible that could be it. The last time I checked,
right.
this
Yeah,
one was a mountain bike,
could be.
like an
Yeah,
activity vehicle.
right.
So that's also
Yeah, and to add to like one of the key benefits of promoting car-free living that at least I have also noticed is the more I bike when I drive, and if there is a biker on the street, I give them, like as much room as well. Like it's just like because I have experience biking in the street when I'm driving, I just become a better driver because I just understand like what it means for a biker to share the road with like a car. And it's just like creates like this safer environment for like
you're so
everyone
much
in a
more
way
aware of other road users
too.
besides just car drivers. So
Right. Yeah.
Mhm. You mentioned about bicycle maintenance, and I know that you have a background in as a bicycle mechanic, which not a lot of people can say. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and then maybe if you have some maybe tips and tricks for people, maybe about like if they're looking to buy a bicycle, about what they should look for?
yes, I when I was a teenager, I worked at a bike shop in the city of Largo. This is such a long time ago, so uh, I don't normally talk about that, but I did learn a lot from the owner of the bike shop. Her name was Mickey. She was a nurse in World War II, so she had a lot of free time at that age to have me on her um, staff and teach me about bike maintenance and help me build my first bike from scratch. One thing that I would recommend, I know, of course, every user is different. You might need to talk with the sales associate to find the proper bike for your needs. But generally speaking, as far as maintenance goes, when you're about to uh, go on a trip using your bike, of course, you should always have your helmet, but check your air tire pressures and make sure that they are up to standards for the rating of your tire and tube. The worst thing is having a flat out somewhere and being stranded without the means to either repair on site or have yourself towed. Um, so yeah, those two things are mainly the case. And if you are cycling a little bit more towards dusk or even in the evening, make sure to have lights on your bike, one in the front, one in the rear, a red one in the rear, and a clear one in the front. Um, Most lights now are rechargeable or use a USB port of some sort to recharge them. So that's always something handy to have. So yeah, those three things I would probably recommend every single time.
How hard is it to repair a flat bicycle
Not
tire? Is it something you can just do go, or do you need like
No,
a
you don't need a
whole
whole workbench. I've
workbench?
repaired a flat when I was out on the road once. I've since I it's easy, but I don't like doing it. And since then, I've decided to invest in better tires that are like puncture resistant. The ones on my bike are like
Oh, there you
Continentals.
go. I didn't know there were puncture resistant bicycle tires. I didn't know there were puncture
Yeah.
resistant tires. That
Yeah,
seems like a
that
game
exists.
changer.
Way back, I remember filling in. It looked like a plastic lining that goes between your tire and your tube. But now there's a lot of advancements in technology with materials used in tire
Mhm.
fabrication that can prevent some of the simplest things like nails or even sand spurs from giving you a flat. But
Where can you get one of these special tires?
most local bike shops will have these in stock. Um, yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
pretty well known brands. I don't know if Kendall Tires makes them, but uh, Boria I think is another brand that makes a pretty solid tire. But if you don't have that, one thing that you can do is keep your tire pressure, the PSI, at the higher end of the spectrum that is your tire is rated for, because the fuller the tire,
Yeah.
the harder it is to be penetrated by anything. That's
Hmm.
something to consider.
Interesting. As a novice bicycle rider or someone who doesn't ride bicycles often, I just wouldn't think of those things, right? Like I would think that like, oh, if your tires, pumped up to the max, that's gonna pop or something when you run over a
Yeah.
tack, but that's clearly not what
No,
happened.
I can you can run over a pine cone and the thing will just shoot off to the side when your tire PSIs are like super high. But yeah, well,
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I guess there's less surface
yeah, I learned
area.
all of this stuff from like the
So
thousands of miles I've used on delivering on city streets. So yeah, I'm
Mhm.
used to seeing also shards of glass, things that you would normally see in a gutter, since apparently that's where bike lanes are. But yeah, those a lot of experience came from delivering on bike.
Dom, do you want to ask anything else?
no, I was just gonna say I love that you are a bicycle messenger that you deliver on using your bicycle. And I have to say, you're not the only person I've spoken with who does that. And that I think that's quite wonderful. That we live in a city that's sort of like walkable enough and has a pretty compact downtown that kind of service is something that's needed and like you said yourself it makes more sense for you to deliver on bicycle rather than by car. You can kind of maneuver a little better, and I just think that's cool that we have that, right? I like the diversity that it brings to the landscape of the urban environment. So kudos to
That's
you.
the
Thanks
other
for doing
benefit to
that,
the
for
seeing
offering
the
that
bike share
service
programs. I
to
noticed there's a
people.
is it Lime that has the baskets in the front. I've noticed a lot of people running their errands or even doing quick grocery stops or going to coffee shops and cafes
Yeah.
using those Lime bikes. And I think that's really awesome. Over the past 5 years, I've seen a huge increase in people using bikes to get to the cafe.
Yeah, they have baskets now. The line bikes have baskets now. So if anybody who's listening wants to, try their hand at delivering a bicycle by bicycle, they can rent a line bike to do it.
Yeah, I always see people leaving their downtown Publix on like one of those line bikes with like their groceries in that basket, and it gives me an immense joy seeing that
But I mean, yeah, if people
always.
aren't going to, automatically get back into bike riding as an adult with an e-bike, for example, I would highly suggest also to mention your suggestion, trying a single speed or a fixed gear bike, mainly because they're so simple to use, and there's very few components to break on here. So if you're not familiar with gears or anything like that, a single speed or a fixed gear bike is probably one of the better investments to have outside of an e-bike, in my opinion.
Well, thank you, Toby. This has been wonderful talking about bicycles. I don't have a bicycle yet, but I am in the market for a bicycle. I walk and take the bus. One of my friends who's a rep for, I think they're called Jupiter bikes. They're like an e-bike situation. He's been trying to sell me one of the e-bikes that they sell. But there's something about the mechanics of a bicycle, not an e-bike, that is more appealing to me for some reason. And so thank you for giving me a primer on all things
Well, e-bikes are
bicycles
also a good
today.
choice. They're lightweight enough to where you can load them into the front of the buses now with a bike racks on the front of them. So
Oh wow.
If you do consider an e-bike, those are still good options.
Oh, that is. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And also like Rad Power Bikes always has like a sale whenever you like check out their website. So if you're actually considering, you could also look at them. And look at the St. Pete
Oh yes,
Bike Co-op sale. It's like perfect timing.
It is. Yeah. 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 So again, the St. Pete Bike Co-op is doing a sale, 25% off all bikes until mid-September. They're open Mondays and Thursdays from 6 to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And we should also say you're listening to Car-Free Conversations on Radio St. Pete. If you're listening on the radio, you can tune in online by going to Radio St. Pete and finding our podcast. You can also find us, I believe, on Spotify and other streaming services.
Yes. And thank you, Toby, for joining us today. If you want to know more about Car-Free St. Pete, if you're listening to this episode on Radio St. Pete, our website is carfreestpete.com. You can find us on all socials under Car-Free St. Pete. We are very active on Instagram and on Facebook. And if you want to volunteer with us, please drop us a note there, and we would love to join you for one of our events. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I love being here.